notes of a lesson and discussion on this work. Follow the lesson for free and just pick up all the tips from the video for free. But if you're interested, I do have a sheet music collection of a number of works at the grade 1 level, and there's a link for that in the description. So this particular piece, although I've placed it in my grade 1 book, in many ways I guess I would consider this as more of a grade 2 piece in some ways, just due to increased activity and a couple of the fingerings. But nevertheless, it's really close, and I wanted something really active in the book and a little bit of a challenge. So I think students will really appreciate this, despite a couple of small, tiny challenges. Piece is really great, real nice mix of melody and arpeggios and voice exchange, you know, having melody work, but then bass lines pop in. So lots of back and forth, and then some exciting textures near the cadences. So just so much to do at the grade 1 level, but nothing that's particularly awkward or anything that would get in the way of most people being able to play it very successfully. So that places it at the grade 1 level. But the only thing I'll say is that, yeah, you'll have to dedicate a little bit of extra practice to this one. Another reason I graded this piece at the grade 1 level is that it sounds really great at a variety of tempos. It says Andantino there, so it's implying that it's not an allegro, it's not a super fast piece. So if you play it a little bit slower, you can just work on your legato and just present a beautiful sound and beautiful phrasing. If you play it a little bit faster, it can be quite exciting. So regardless of what approach you take, I kind of took the middle ground in the performance. I just played it at a moderate, an Andantino tempo, kind of a little bit more relaxed. But with enough speed to give it movement and direction in the phrasing. So, great little piece to play at a variety of different tempos, and you can have fun exploring that. I think the first thing that we should talk about is just going through the piece and just deciding what musical lines to bring out and how to accomplish it. So, although there's a number of different textures, you still have to have like a nice flow to the music, and I think legato legato phrasing here is just very important, to take all the different parts of the piece and put them together in a nice flowing legato fashion, which really ties the piece together. So that means lots of scale work and arpeggio work that's legato. And whenever you play these scale passages, you want a little bit of scoop to them. Da, 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 ya, da, da, da. A little bit of growth to them. Da, 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 da. Not really blocky note by note, but instead having movement and gravity towards certain to the downbeat of lots of the measures. Taking a group of notes and forming them into one directional idea. And then we have the bass. So you can hear like so much of the upper melody, da, 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 and then arpeggios, and then more upper arpeggios to cadences, and then bass. Continues with the bass voice, upper, lower, upper, and then this little bit of a motif that builds tension here, and then this kind of exciting cadence there with a new texture. That texture, I don't think you'll find it too difficult. But you could practice it in block shape, so taking each group of 2 notes and then the chord, and just playing them in solid form until your left hand understands the shapes. And then arpeggiating them. And if it buzzes, of course, be close to the fret, like I just corrected. That last chord, I've fingered it with 3 and 2, so you're just moving this down 1 fret, which is really convenient in this case. You could play it with 2 and 1. It's not that noticeable, but you would have to lift off that A and change strings with it, creating a possible hiccup. A lot of these hiccups can be covered up very easily, but nevertheless, it's a good fingering exploration of fingering there. At later levels, you might have to do these kinds of fingerings to avoid hiccups in the music, and this is a great opportunity to try it out. Even though we could jump that finger over, because it has potential for that hiccup, we're just moving our fingers down 1 fret. And then it kind of starts again and has much of the same material. So this little area of the piece is definitely an area that will be a little bit of a challenge to students, but it's not that difficult. The most important thing is your hand alignment. We're going to play the A with the 3rd finger, and again, we could practice this in block form, 2 notes at a time, then 4th finger on F. Now keep in mind, if your hand position's off, you won't be able to reach that F. You can see my 4th finger can't even reach it because my hand position's off. But if I swing my hand into a good position, I can reach that F no problem, right? I can reach the C if I wanted, or the G, or an imaginary another note, just simply because my knuckle's been brought into alignment and my finger's nice and curved now, and I can play that. But push out of alignment a little bit, and I can't even reach the note. So hand alignment is so important here. It's not that it's difficult, but your hand just must be properly aligned. So if we take 2 notes at a time, practice that, and then we arpeggiate it. So we're using thumb, index, thumb, index, thumb, M, that idea there. And then the chords, same thing. So yeah, all about the hand position there, and just carefully practicing that section. So I think that for most people in this piece, you take a pencil and you circle those few measures that we talked about, you know, this right before the fermata there, and then that section we just talked about. And you have to practice it as a little technique exercise, and then you get comfortable with the piece. Great little piece, full of so much activity and exchanges and, you know, scales and arpeggios and all these different textures. So a really great little challenge piece for the grade 1 level. Nothing that's insurmountable, but certainly lots of activity and a little bit of extra practice.